This episode of RP MMO Radio brought to you by all our amazing and generous Patreon donors. Visit us at patreon.com/RP MMO Radio to help support the show. It is also brought to you by...
Hello! It is I, Penelope Bellows, coming to you again with a most exciting announcement. Given the clear and obvious tampering with the presidential multiverse election by the likes of some dubious individuals who currently sit in that office, as well as the unfounded slander against me and my poor sweet Jessica. I will now be focusing exclusively on my teachings and opening a new school for, yes, you young ladies looking to begin your lives out there in the real world. Under my strict and watchful eye, this amazing opportunity is free to all qualified women of the proper sort. That's right. If you qualify, it is completely free up front. Only you must pay out upon completion as you go into your new career. Yes. I am proud to announce the Women's Home of Relaxing Experiences. Yes, here. You will learn how to make your men feel like kings. You will give them evenings to remember. Yes, maybe your men like some leather and whips. Ooh, maybe they like the soft, tickly feel-goods. Yes. Or maybe they like handcuffs and chains. Or what if they just want to talk and cuddle? You will also be forced to learn how to do that. Sorry. I don't know, but whatever it is your fellows want, we will instruct you in all the fascinating ways to charm them. Yes. Your men will walk away dreaming of their next appointment with you. Yes, you. So come on down to Women's Home of Relaxing Experiences, or you can look up whore.oops and find your classes now.
You're listening to RP MMO Radio,
Does internet porn know you're cheating on it?
where entertainment and roleplay in MMORPGs have little hybrid mutant babies.
Make a note of this. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family.
And now, here's your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Civ, Jazz, Strophe, and Yunfei. Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players! Welcome back to the first episode of 2019 and RP MMO Radio. This is our 73rd episode, Charmed, I'm sure. I, of course, am one of your hosts, as you heard, Ashen Phoenix, and with me is my crew, Jazz, Sib, Strophe, and Yunfei. You may notice that we are now minus a Kishmis, and that's... He's just kind of really got busy, as you probably noticed a lot of last year. A lot of schedule conflicts and things like that. It was completely personal. Everything was a giant blow up. Actually, at the end, it got real ugly. He pulled my hair. I punched him in the dick. But we still left friends. And you're
We
still
did get
muted,
Gormal
baby.
to drag him out of the building, so there was that bit of theater.
Yeah, but then he punched Gormal in the dick, and that is one.
That didn't end well.
No, that's that all that crotch cheese just gets everywhere. It's just
Oh,
awful.
God.
We're still cleaning up the front office, folks. It's pretty rough.
I tell you. But nah, Kishmas, he's just kind of, he's gonna do his own thing. He's still all is good. And things like that. It's just, these things happen. It's given the large sum of money we don't pay anybody, it's bound. It's gonna happen, and he just got so busy and kind of hasn't had as much role playing and things like that. But
Happy 2019, listeners.
that's right. He may come around, pop in every now and then. We don't know. But so in replacement of him, we now have a full-time Yunfei
Hello.
It's a uni.
who is short, but we like to refer to her as fun-sized because she's a fae, and that's what they are. They're tiny.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope everybody had a good, year, all 5 days of it so far. Probably not. I mean, it's just, I've actually seen this year so far referred to as 2018 Part 2. I do not think that will probably be far from the truth. I mean, just because we rotated around the sun once, good on us. We didn't blow up the planet yet. Yeah.
Oh, working on it.
Not fast enough as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just ready. I mean, am I alone in this? Just like, I'm just
You
kind
ready
of,
for a respawn?
I'm kind of, yeah, I really am. It's like maybe if, I think we just need to wipe this raid and like start it over. Like, I don't know, like maybe a fun planet where everything's helium based and we all sound like this or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So, but, I can't be. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are pretty cynical like that too. I mean, at least I don't refer to the human race as a virus just because we are. I just keep it to myself.
That's not keeping to yourself, boss.
Yeah,
But I digress.
Wait, what?
Keep anything to yourself.
No, I kept that. That was my internal monologue.
Okay, I see.
Wait a minute, did you hear me?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Holy
Nothing.
shit, it worked. We're now on a planet of telepaths. That's amazing. Huh. Well, this is gonna get really awkward when I see someone that's like, yeah. Like Sib. Hey baby, what you doing? What's going on over there?
What?
What are you wearing?
I am actually wearing a Rogan Gambit shirt.
Oh, you are, that's right, yeah. I got that shirt.
am.
So, enough of that. Do appreciate everybody tuning in. We, of course, do this every Saturday, except that we don't now. We will not be doing this every Saturday. But when we do it on Saturday, it'll be at 7 Central over at twitch.tv/RPM Radio. As you may have noticed, we have a few format changes. So from now on, we're going to do our ad read in the beginning of the show. Because it's less janky that way, I think. We're going to give it a shot.
I really feel sorry for poor Penelope. I mean, she really got a bad deal.
I mean, I
Everybody
don't-
thought she was a pimptress.
She kind of... I mean, her
Is?
website is whore.oops. Which, by the way, I don't think she knows how the internet works. But that also might have been because I wouldn't actually want to send anyone to whore.com, which I was too afraid to even type into my browser.
That was probably
I'm
why.
not even going to check
Probably
it.
was. You don't
Yeah.
want that virus. No.
So if
And
anybody
now
out there
we're going
wants...
to have at least 10 people who are going to go and do
Yeah,
that.
if anybody wants to
Congratulations.
type that in and tell me what happens, once you get your computer reset, let me know.
Okay. Before we got on here, we were listening to this really bad story. Thank you, Wakachoto.
Oh,
How much
God.
think about is that now? Ugh.
I'm sure he's saying you're welcome wherever he is.
No,
in my
I'm
head.
sure he is. So so we're gonna do that stuff. This year we're gonna try to do a lot more. We always try to be entertaining, but we're really gonna focus as much on that as we do the role play talk of things. We're gonna try to intertwine them a little bit more tightly. Because frankly, all these people are lunatics, and why wouldn't we share this madness with you? But things more like the improv stuff, the live role play like we did with the debate with the characters and things like that. Don't know how well it'll work. It may all be awful, but we had fun doing that. It seemed like it came off pretty well. But we really just want to combine the fun and the entertainment things in combination with the RP and MMO talk, And that would be Ron Hanar in the background of Yunfei. He's our call screener, which you can see over at rpmradio.com/Discord. Hanar's in the waiting room if you want to call in on this episode, which was actually brought to by one of you guys, one of you listeners, which I'll mention once we actually get to it. The other big change, other than that giant lumpy, but we appreciate them, sort of. The other big change is we're actually just gonna go do the show 3 times a month now. 3 weeks out of the month. We're gonna just like God rest on the 4th day.
That was the 7th day, bro.
No, I'm pretty sure they said he rested on the 7th day, but he's the master of time and space, so he could have done it on the 4th, given us another 3, and been like, crap, I should have done that on the last one, and then he rearranged it. That's how I like to believe it happened. And you wouldn't know the difference. You know why? Because he's God, and how dare you question him?
That is sound logic. I can't argue with it.
The fact that you think that's sound logic means you are definitely in the right place.
But
so we're going to take the last Saturday off of each month. Part of it is because it's just give people time, a Saturday where they don't have to feel like they have to be here.
Okay, let's be honest.
Basically, everyone does.
Because in October...
Oh, there's that too.
Sibby likes to go to spook houses and have the crap scared out of her. And I can't do that if we do that every Saturday. So.
There's that. And there's other things that happen on Saturdays and role play and things like that. So given that we are all apparently role players at, one point or another, Yunfei is kind of in between. She's in between jobs right now.
It's okay because she's fun size.
Yeah, but she's got enough experience. And, some of our craziest stories have come from her. So,
And what they're not telling you, because she is fun size, we can deploy her in a suitcase and we have to go on location for a live story.
Yeah.
And hey, you only pay for 1 ticket.
Yeah, flat rate. It's super cheap. Super cheap. So we're going to take off the last, we're just going to do it 3 times. We two times a week wasn't enough. Where's my mind at?
About?
I don't know.
One wonders.
Apparently, I'm thinking of 1950s fuzzy cuffs for women. The muff.
Sure you are, sir. Sure you are.
Hey, it's called the muff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not the one that makes up that fashion name. It actually is called the muff.
Go. No, just keep going.
What? Oh, what were you referring to? Giant vaginas?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, good. I'm glad we were on the
Clearly,
fashion
the
trend
silence was agreeing with you.
So we're going to take the last Saturday off. Hope everyone's cool with that because, I don't know, we kind of need it. It's still a heck of a lot of episodes, and as everyone here is, I suppose, given that they showed up, still having a good time doing the show.
Roger that.
All right, well, we're going to keep doing it then. So, but yeah, so other than that, things have been going pretty well. Hope everybody likes the new format. Hope everything sounds not like complete garbage. There's only so much I can do about Strafe, but, he shows up, so...
Hey, man.
We're stuck. Well, hey, you can hear me.
I got a new mic and a headset just for you.
That's true.
I'm taking this slander. Dang.
Which, by the way, I wanted to point that out. So remember back last year... when we had mentioned something about his headset breaking. Yeah. We had said, hey, go out and get a new one. He's like, yeah, I got it taped up. It'll work for now. Well, apparently worked for now was MacGyver talk for the next 4 months until yesterday it finally,
I'll tell you
Thursday
what, it worked,
finally
though,
broke. It did. It did. It does explain why we could hear everything you were breathing, though. It was sort of dangling by your mouth.
That is a baseless slander. Obviously, back in the day, I had push to talk.
And see,
Everything on this show is baseless slander, pretty much.
Yeah, I know.
that's. I mean, that's.
What am I kidding?
Have you listened? Have you listened to any of us ever? I mean, Jazz is over there smacking the shit out of her kids before every show.
It just goes to show you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Verbally smacking the shit out of her kids.
Verbally smacking them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, that one she'll own up to.
It just goes to show you the power of duct tape can extend a device for 4 months. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. If you got enough duct tape, you can quiet any kid. Ask those ones that had their
that's
kids
Oh my
taken away.
gosh.
I'm sure. No, we're stopping on that one. That one's too
What?
dark.
What? No, I mean just with the duct tape and the.
Duct tape and kids, not a good fit. Not a good
I will
look.
say I do love seeing those ones where parents like duct tape their kids onto the wall and the kids
It's like the closet door and they
it's
open and close it.
Although the one where they did that, but they did it in the form of it was actually teenagers, which is why this was done so stupidly, because teenagers are stupid. They did it in the form of like a V diaper, so it let go of the upper half, but luckily the crotch support was still good and intact, so all their weight went right down on the giblets.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be bad.
We call that natural selection because now they can't have kids.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. The way God intended. He really does think of everything.
Yes,
Like-
indeed, sir.
Like resting on the fourth day.
Oh,
I wouldn't go that far, but sure.
I'm pretty sure it's in the back somewhere. It's in the director's cut of the Bible.
The director's
The
cut.
director's cut.
Right.
All right. Well, with enough of that bullshit, since we've been gone for so long, the other format changes. We're not going to quite go. We're going to try to keep things story oriented with what we've been doing in role play. Pick the best story of the week, or in my case, if we got a new character, kind of explain where we came up with the character, and then we'll have to do a story. So with that, given New Year, new me, I don't think we should pick on Jazz anymore. Who am I kidding? Jazz, you're first.
I was like almost looking. I was like, really? I don't have to go first?
No.
You just tortured
You
me.
complained
You're
once 2 years ago, and now this is what still happens.
Cute.
I never forget.
Apparently. So, my roleplay this so far since our break has been largely focused on Cial, with a little bit with some of my other characters, but Cial and her relationships with Trithalis, Vali, and all that, and the storyline that's developing with Vali have all kind of been fueling my character. So I'm going to read. Cial doesn't keep a journal because that would require writing, and she hates writing, and she's not very good at it, so she doesn't do that. But these are just snippets of her life, little stories about what she's doing. So that's what I read to you when I read from her journal, quote unquote. It's not something she's actually written. It's just
Journal.
her thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting into character now. Here we go. Did you have a grand look, you tree lurker? Are you satisfied to see me break? Fly from here, you fetcher, fly. Cial bolted, tears springing to her eyes as she ran across the courtyard and over the wall. She whistled for her guar and hopped on with a cha to send him running full speed across the ground and away from any known paths. Her hand wiped her tears from her eyes angrily as she rode away, ducking branches that swept by. She didn't stop until she was well off, slowing as she made her way to a hidden campsite a ways from Trithalis' estate. She watched the sun rise and then went about her normal routine until the day was done and the sun was setting after a long day of hunting, and she sat on a jagged rock, eating roasted venison from a day's hunt, eyes on the spreading color and glory as the day died once more and night approached. She'd never seen Trath that upset, even after Farah's death. It shocked her, but his outburst had hurt her a little. She shrugged off the sting as she ate, chalking it up to emotions and evasion of privacy. After the dinner was finished and she washed her hands in the stream, she sat on her haunches on the rock overlooking the beautiful landscape and pulled out her sketchbook. Turning pages, she mused over the sketches of Voli and Trath and their various stages of lovemaking. She studied her drawings of Typhon with his slave girls and Sildreni with her lovers. The pages were filled with those she knew, locked in embrace with their various lovers. She pondered to herself if she was truly odd for finding fascination in such things, that they seemed to possess a fire with others that she could never quite touch. She found it strange and fascinating, so much so that she wanted to draw it, hold it, and keep it to study later. They had something she didn't, and she desperately wanted to understand it. Her fingers traced the blank paper a moment, and then she took out the charcoal and sketched Trithalus's pain-etched face in that moment of fury when he realized she was there. Pure rage, hate, raw emotion was painted there, and she captured it in each stroke of the charcoal. Her fingers smudged and smeared to create the necessary shadows. Did he hate her, or was she reading it wrong? Her mind mused over it as she drew his face, locked in that yell as it replayed over and over in her mind. After a time, she stopped and set it aside, staring at him, transfixed. Her face tried to contort into those lines, her fingers touching on them as they formed on her face. Over and over, she replayed it, trying to make her face do that. Finally, she stopped, giving up. It was simply beyond her. She'd never felt anything like that, which she saw on his face, and likely never would. Broken, she murmured to herself as she picked up the sketchbook and turned back, coming to pages full of Sejoras chopping wood, Sejoras hunting, Sejoras in wolf form, Sejoras sleeping next to her, looking content and deep in sleep. She had drawn his face, taking time and patience, looking at her with love. She had stared at it for hours, trying to see that look on her own face in the stream. It was pointless, she decided. She just didn't have that ability. She turned the pages to Typhon and the myriad of sketches of him in every moment of his day. Typhon with his slaves, Typhon reading, Typhon practicing with sword and magic, covered in sweat with 2 slaves watching adoringly. She chanced on a sketch she had drawn of Sildreni, his daughter, and Typhon standing on the rock near the portal, talking about something very intense. She had taken time to draw their body language, and later their faces each enlarged, studying their expressions. Typhon cared about his daughter. It was strange to see, honestly. It was the same look given from Trajan to his daughter. She was fascinated by that, so much that she had taken the time to draw each side by side, Trajan's adoring gaze at his daughter and Typhon's watching his. She turned to the last set of pages that showed Voli. She had drawn Voli with great care, to show her rare beauty in moments of rage and intensity. There were sketches of her in battle, of her tending her horses, of singing when no one was looking, or so she thought, of course. Sial closed the book and sighed. Tomorrow they were to go after Voli, and she would be there, in the shadows as always, ever present, ever lurking, protecting the people she was so fond of. She chuckled and crawled into her bedroll, opening it and covering up by the fire, willing herself to sleep at least for a while. Tomorrow was going to be a busy day.
You're muted again.
You're not the boss, me.
Yeah,
Mute has got
Oh, wait, you are the boss. Never mind.
Mute has
Oops.
got me today.
a couple times. That's right. All right. Well, very good, Jess.
Very well done, Jess.
How about you,
Thank
Siv? Since I got you unmuted right now, I don't want you to.
To mute myself again.
Right. Yeah.
I was taking a little lead from Jazz there because I have been writing stories on this event with Voli and Chath and everything that's going on. And I was just going to read a short story that I wrote. It's the last one that would happen right before, well, the role play tonight.
Alrighty.
So it's called, the whole series is called Hunting the Pale Orc, and I'll probably try to get them over to you so you can post them if anybody's interested in reading the whole thing. It's got a couple short stories from Strophe too in it. So
Spiffy.
okay. The deep darkness around her felt like a comfort and also felt so foreign. Something pulled at her, and she did her best to ignore the summoning sensation. Whatever it was, Voli feared it more than the darkness that encased her. But the pulling would not stop. It had been calling her for it seemed like hours, and she had continued to resist. She felt resolve slipping, and she knew she would have to release the darkness sooner rather than later. She felt the pain as the darkness began to give way to a great void. It hit her hard. Her whole right side seemed to be alive with a searing, burning pain. It was overwhelming, and she could not fight the gagging feeling of the intense pain brought along with it. Weakly, Voli lifted her head and forced her eyes open. After a few blinking attempts, she saw a fire a few feet in front of her, and she tried to move. She dropped her head and looked down at herself.
Her arm was firmly bandaged to her chest and right side. Whoever did it must have removed her top, because she was in a simple rawhide tunic. She also saw that she was tied sitting up to something hard behind her. She tried to shift, but she was not moving one little bit. As she focused on this, a shadow fell over her, and her gaze went up to see Dravar smirking down at her. He squatted his massive form between her and the small fire. She hated him so much, and she knew her features showed her feelings plainly. 'Cause his smirk turned to a deep frown. Now, little sister, I thought you would be happy to see me. The blood price was paid after all, and that is behind us. His words came low and laced with malice. Fifth you, Dravar. When my arm heals, I'm going to kill you. Voli's last word left an odd silence hanging around the small camp. Dravar's eyes narrowed as he stared at her. His gaze swung to his left, and he speaks in a gruff rumble. Gorgel, bring me the collar and the small wooden box from my bag. Black, evil eyes slide back to Voli. I have a couple gifts for you, Voli. And by the way, I love the gift I received from you. His smirk returns as he holds out a leather cord from his chest. There's something small hanging from it, and Voli's eyes strain to make out what it is. Look close, my mate. No, you don't know what it is. A meaty hand reaches out and pats her left shoulder, and she instantly flinches from the pain there. Yes, I found the other mark, and I removed it, but I wanted to keep it as a prize. I'm going to skin you alive, Dravar. Then Voli's cold words briefly are interrupted. Hold that thought, my mate. One of the orcs comes to Dravar's side and hands him a silvery circle and a small box. He speaks as he grabs her legs with his right hand and carefully settles himself so Voli cannot kick out at him. Now for your gifts. She strains at her bonds and shifts her shoulders, but the pain threatens to engulf her again and makes her settle back with dark, stilly eyes. Fighting is useless, little sister, but I promise your gifts will not diminish how amazing you look. I think they will only enhance it. He places the box on the ground next to his thigh and opens the collar wide enough to place it around her neck. It is a pale silver, and in the light it almost looks white. She hears it snap together in the back of her neck, and something strange begins to creep over her flesh, like when someone walks through a mass of cobwebs. Voli tries to shift, and she licks her lips as she wonders what has just happened. I had it enchanted, Voli. It was made by a hag witch. It is so that you do not try and fight us again. I think enough blood has been shed, my mate. You cannot harm one that is of your own race. Now for your next gift. His words die off as he turns and collects a small wooden box. Her anger towards him is slowly fading, and she grasps in vain to try and keep it close. Her mind keeps spitting out. Has he taken he has taken you from me, Trath. He has taken Trath's markings. He has undid your mating to Trath. All of this and more keeps trying to add fuel to the fire that is burning her rage. But with each breath, it slowly fades, and she's losing the thought of Trath. The shiny thing that Dravar holds out in his fingers brings her mind back to the now moment, and she watches as his hand slowly moves towards her left tusk. His other hand moves to grab the back of her head to hold her still, his fingers curling into her hair tightly. See, I had these sized down so they will fit your tusk. I was only guessing, but I feared you were not as big as your mother was. You were always small. Voli's eyes focus on the small, intricate metal clasp, and her emotions swirl into a mixture of regret, sadness, and loss. Though her anger is locked away somewhere that she now has no access to. She feels the clasp be attached to her tusk, and a sudden jolt of pain shoots out as the metal is forced into the hard calcium of her tusk. She winces as Dravar leans back, appraising his handiwork and grinning. They look much better on you than they ever did on your mother. Voli looks for the anger, the rage, and cannot find nothing. She watches as Dravar grabs the other clasp and brings it towards her other tusk. The pain is sharp as he clasps it on, and the metal barbs dig deeply into her tusk, making her wince. He leans back again, eyeing his handiwork once more. They really do fit you well. Malcalith has rewarded me well for bringing you back home. Now, I will let you rest. We still have a long journey ahead. She watches as he stands and moves to his bedroll, which is just to the right of her, about 5 feet. Sighing softly, she lets her head drop slowly and tries to think of anything that will help her escape. The collar denies her rage, but it does not bound her to the group. So maybe she can find the right moment to run. And that's where the RP is going to start tonight. The end. And sorry about the rough reading. I'm not used to reading out loud. No. No. I do really well.
Well, I got the story that probably should have been read before Jazz's, but I'll go ahead and read that. Since she has to go first, you know. Sounds good. Y'all ready? Sully, Draxilus, Caves, and Kyle filed out of Matheson Manor, leaving a stoic but shell-shocked Trithala Silverleaf to sink to his knees behind his bar. His carefully crafted mask of stoic indifference was fractured from the overwhelming grief and powerlessness that hit the Altmer within the space of a few hours. Bolly's adopted mother had cut him to the core when she had announced to him that she was pregnant, and laid the full blame on him for not heeding her words to stay away from her. He had spilled his tankard of mead while they were still present, and now he turned and sat with his back against the bar, idly soaking up the mead with a towel. Then, like a dam breaking from the weight of too much water, Trath broke into an overwhelming grief. His chest heaved with his sudden sobs. He buried his hands into his face and fully broke down silently. For a fleeting heartbeat, he lamented upon Kyleal's words. If he had heeded her disapproval, would she still be in such peril now? His thoughts drifted to the description Rufus had reported about his dear mate's ill treatment and captivity. The Mer flew into a sudden rage, throwing his tankard into the hanging goblet, sending a few flying and several shattered into sparkling shards. He was soon on his feet, with his Ayleid sword out swinging with abandon, giving his anger a vehicle to loose itself upon the bar. Then the poetry room. He kicked up the bench and then smote it to the wall with his sword. The few glasses left on the bar top shattered or flew wide once kissed by the edge of that old enchanted sword. Some fleeting shape fled from the window's room. Catching Trithal's eye as he turned and leveled a tirade of rage vocally at it all while hacking and kicking bar stools asunder. Did you have a grand look, you tree lurker? Are you satisfied to see me break? Fly from here, you fetcher, fly! Trath roared at the fleeing shadow from his window. As he looked out, he caught the figure scale the wall. Then he clutched his chest, feeling something cold cut through his very soul. He gasped and leaned forward to the wall, then fell backward, passing out into a heap among the scattered poetry seating, sword still in hand. An embedded small welkin stone in the old sword lit brightly, illuminating, pulling part of his essence from it, then just as quickly transferred away from itself. Far on the opposite wing of the house, the Ayleid artifact suddenly filled with the Aldmaris Research Hall with its bright blue luminescence. As it captured and bound the source of its essence, it was fed. Trath woke a few hours before sunup and clutched his chest for the lingering dull pain that remained, only to be replaced by a sudden chill of feeling extremely cold. After a short time, Trath gathered himself together and set about cleaning his epic mess from the night before. By the time his cousin Anya arrived from Kia's home, there was no sign of the mess, and no sign of her cousin. She did a quick survey of the house and found him at length where he first broke down. She silently berated him for overindulging, then placed a blanket on him and promised to share the error of his drunken ways with him when he woke. She felt a strange tug that sent a shiver up her spine as she moved past the research hall. As she went about her daily chores, "Well, my cousin and his old trinkets, the very idea," she chided and went her way. The end!
All right, very good.
The end. That is so funny.
Well, I don't have any fancy stories. I ain't that literate at all. But mostly that's because I have a new character myself. I kind of wanted to try something new, so after all the stuff we say, I made a vampire. Did it. Made a vampire. I did it.
How does that make you feel?
Dirty. A little dirty. No. We always say on talking about that. Excuse me, got the hiccups. Talking about that stuff. So I wanted to give it a try. Go way outside my usual comfort zone of things like that. But all my pet peeves of vampires is they're like, it's like the Hotel Transylvania, like blah 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 blah. I am vampire, blah blah. Don't do that. But so
most of the time we complain about people who don't know how to play them. I think that's the gist of it.
Right. And which is a lot of people that there's a few others, there's some in the guild that are actually it's pretty subdued. Like OOC, they'll say stuff, which is fine, but then there's a few others that's like, look how evil I am. I'll snap this guy's neck because that's what evil does. It's like, okay, but I was just, wanted to try something different. Kind of, I will say I was inspired by, watching Dracula in the Castlevania series on Netflix because he's just fucking badass. And given you can't quite god mod to that level of power, might be a little bit overkill, So, not quite like that. Yeah. But also, but the vampire thing is really it's just what he is or who he is. It's not all there is to him. Probably his bigger skill is that the other influence I wanted to try to see if I can do in roleplay was a very, very tactical and observant character that notices lots of little things, but try not to make it god moddy. Something in the way of like Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Star Wars. For those that you don't know who that is. He's a blue chiss, and you're not nerdy enough if you don't know that. So,
best Imperial officer ever.
Literally, yeah. And you can actually see him in the what's the Rebels? He's in Rebels now.
He's in Star Wars Rebels.
There's 2 books out on him, new books in the current timeline, not the Legends, written by Zahn, who was the original creator of him and Mara Jade. But I wanted to see if I could do like the tactical thing, and so far his reception seems to be pretty well. Everyone seems to really take it to him. In the couple weeks he's been alive, alive in the game anyway. He's done fairly well. He's advanced pretty quickly actually within the guild, and he definitely I have to tamp down my natural ability for snark. I don't know if anyone's noticed I can be snarky at times. I know it's shocking, but
that's a baseless rumor. What are you talking about?
I know. It's just I've heard it on a good authority from a few people: mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, little things like that. Bosses, coworkers, that one guy in the prison next to me. Things like that. I've just heard it.
We don't discuss that time in the prison, bro.
Soap on a rope. But so I wanted to try something new, and somebody that's because really, if you think about it, yes, there's definitely an inclination that you could god mod like, oh, I know all this stuff but I'm working real hard to make sure it's amazing when you really pay attention. How much people will say, they'll just spill their whole character's, secrets and stories in less than subtle ways. And a lot of people just kind of brush over it. But if you really have a character you want to pay attention to it, you can infer, like there was something as simple as somebody there's a guy named Micah Waterloo, and he bust in there. My character never spotted him before, but he was doing all his things and stuff. And My character called him Lord Waterlow, and he looked at him and was like, I don't know you. It's like, oh, I mean, like 5 people have shouted your name since you've come in here. It's really not that hard to figure it out without an introduction, you know?
Yeah. it was
Given I
funny.
didn't have to say that, but it's like, you know, the information is there. I don't have to, you know, if I hear someone call Steve's name out from across the room, I'm going to be like, that guy that turned around must be Steve. So, you know, just things like that. I wanted to see if we can how far you can get that and what you could get away with. Given it's people I know, you know, it's Jazz's Gildalanu, which I don't know if Jazz is meant to be on mute this whole time. Hopefully she's not said anything and we're just ignoring her. I don't know. She might have had to go away. But so yeah, so I'm trying to do, his name is Draxilis.
I've been laughing and everything, and I was completely unaware I was on mute.
Okay,
So,
okay, that's
today's
all right.
the mute day, apparently. It's
Yeah,
gonna get all of us.
we're 3 weeks out of practice, but yeah, I thought I might mention that because it's like, usually you're not gone for this long.
No, I was here the whole time, talking and laughing. And
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, well, we
Jazz.
were just. I know we
Wow.
could hear
I haven't
you.
done that in a while.
We could
That
hear
was-
you. We were just ignoring you, so you'd feel like you were being muted.
Uh-huh. If only that was true.
Right,
But no,
yeah,
I feel
no,
even worse
no.
because that's not the case.
No, it's all right. Earlier, I think after, I think between Sib and Strafe, I think I forgot to unmute myself on the actual microphone, so you guys could hear me. But on the podcast, it'll just be you guys talking to each other like crazy people, answering things that nobody else can hear. So
There you go.
yeah, it's just 3 weeks and you're out of practice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to him. I've actually had quite a good bit of role play. I know.
He's a really cool tune, man.
Yeah, and
I dig it.
Sorry.
Jazz needs to put a blanket over her birds.
Kill that bird.
Kidding. Sorry.
But it always
bird has-
reminds me to turn my phone down.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Every time I hear the bird, I'm like, oh, I gotta turn my
Please
phone
keep your
down.
hands and arms inside the podcast at all times.
That's
Cinco
okay.
de
I'm sure
Mayo,
my
por
cat will
favor.
make an appearance at some point tonight.
Probably. Yeah, one of your kitties. At least they're not in heat anymore. Oof.
No.
That was a
Oh,
noisy
God.
time period. But yeah, he's been a lot of fun with Servants of the Temple on Tarvala. I've honestly just not been feeling it anymore. We are starting a thing on Monday, which we kind of give it a shot. But since the commander of that guild stepped down, we're going to do a role play thing where we're going to have just the worst person come in. Like, I mean, I put Chad in his name just to prove how bad of a person he is. And he's going to be their new commander, but he's going to be one of those horrible supervisors. Like, his breath is going to be like garlicky and stinky, and nothing is ever going to be good enough. Nothing will also ever be his fault, no matter what goes wrong. He's going to criticize, it's like when a new supervisor comes into your work and they know how to make this work again. Even though you guys have been doing it for 15 years and, what you have works just fine, they still feel the need to stir everything up because they know better. Kind of like that, those guys, the Bobs from Office Space.
It's hiking their leg on the new fire hydrant. You know how it goes.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. He'll berate all the other high ordinators and how incompetent they are and things like, for such a small order, why is it they have such a high number of injuries? Ignoring the fact of how often it is they go out onto missions and things like that compared to other places. It's it just annoying stuff that should be a lot of fun, should be very frustrating, and also since he's kind of an NPC character, it probably won't end well for him. Just gonna
Probably not.
assume after a few weeks of that it's not gonna go well. But it's one of those things I'll have to play by ear, and I'll give you updates once we actually start doing it. We've been waiting to, role play, which, by the way, for all of you, your guild is in fact dead. You should just quit the game because over the Christmas season and the New Year's, I know nobody was around. It's because role play has died on your game. You should just give up. Just go.
Don't say that.
It's not
People
gonna.
won't
It's
believe
not gonna
you.
recover in like a week. It's impossible. It can't happen. Can't recover from that, Jazz. Jazz.
Yes.
Can't recover from that.
Uh-huh.
Actually, you will.
Yeah.
Once schools gets back in and things get back to normal, colleges and stuff, not regular school, because regular school's already back in, unless you're,
Unless you're weird, yeah.
weird. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's what I got. Draxilis is my new character. Look forward to trying. I've had actually a lot of fun with him. So, next week, I think I'll have a story. I've got a lot of good background stuff for him that's should be good and neat. So, with that, let us hit our main topic today. And as I had said earlier, this is actually brought to us by a listener, Insomniac, who is right now Insomniac102 in the Twitch chat, if they're still in there. I can't tell. I know they're still there, but I don't know if they're there.
They're there.
You know? So if there's ever anything, anybody, I mean, it's a good topic, too. I never would have, I don't think I honestly would have. We're kind of at the point of Micro's dirty jobs, where like all the good ideas we could think of, we've already done, and from now here on, it's kind of we rely on the audience to sort of help us here and there and guide us in what you guys want to hear and want to have spoken of. So,
what do you want from us?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Just tell me.
I think we could also revisit some old stuff that we haven't done
And go
in a
in
while.
more depth in, yes.
Yeah.
And
For
go off
sure.
in the weeds, the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've definitely got there's definitely a lot of weeds. We had a lot of topics in broad brushstrokes, like those paint rollers, really, is a kind of a brushstroke, I guess. We did a lot of paint roller strokes. A lot of stroking it. Just a lot of stroking.
Stroke it. Woo.
Stroke.
Woo.
Wow.
All
They
right,
instantly
well.
went there, Ashen.
This episode brought to you by everybody born in the 70s.
67.
Whatever. There's a 7 in it, still counts. But yeah, so Insomniac Appreciator, or him, sorry. I never know. I always just go off of the picture. The picture's a girl, so you've got to be a girl. Or a
Well, the laws of the internet should be a guy, though, right?
Not anymore. That's only early 2000s. That's like
No, that's true.
2000 to 2010. After
Now,
that, it's
if
kind
it's a
of
guy, you've got a 50% chance of it actually being played by a girl. So.
right. Yeah, it's
Cool.
you're up to 50% now instead of the
I'm so
original
confused.
99.999%.
Yeah. Used to be, yeah, there used to be very little females in game, and now at least 50%, if not higher, of guys played. Particularly if they're gay, they're probably played by a woman.
Yeah, that is
Gotcha.
actually a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Insomniac identifies as ambiguous.
Ambiguous. All right. Then. I don't want to know.
Amorphous. I don't actually. Amorphous actually almost sounds like an insult. I think we should stick with ambiguous.
I was about to say.
Usually after amorphous is blob, and I'm not going there with anybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
amoeba-like,
No,
Lots
that's worse.
lots of silica.
No.
Scylla.
No, still
Cilia.
not better.
Cilia.
Still
It's-
not better.
No. Okay. Well, to all our amoeba listeners, I apologize. Apparently, you're not good enough.
Oh my god.
Just going off of what Jazz says. Amoebas aren't even people, according to Jazz. You
they're
heard
not.
it here. Here.
What?
What do you want, Rahanar?
Point of order. Amoeba have pseudopods, not cilia.
Speaking of amoebas,
This fact brought to you by our call screener.
there we go. I got rid of him.
Ah,
You're so mean. And he's right, technically.
He is right. So what? I'm coming off of this shit with the top of my head. It's you try to talk like I do and make sense.
Yeah, but the whole
Yeah.
makes sense thing is
Shut
the
up,
rare
stupid.
part.
Being mean to me. When did this come about? What? No. You guys don't get to pick on me because I'm.
No, but you pick on us.
I
Pretty
remember
sure
it
that's
differently.
fair play. I mean,
No, I'm charming and charismatic. That means I'm better than you. And
I
as we're
don't think
going to
that's
go
what that
in,
means.
no, I'm pretty sure that's what it means.
I don't think it is.
I'm
actually.
also far more humble than you are. It's one of my favorite qualities about myself.
are you sure about that, boss?
I just said it.
Mhm.
Duh.
Very well. All right. I believe
All
it.
right, but like I said, Insomniac, appreciate the topic. They actually had given me a great link on, was it Tywin Lannister? I'm actually gonna find that and put it in the thing.
Oh, those dirty Lannisters.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
man.
what made him such a great kind of bad guy in the way he did, controlled everything that he did, is like, okay, that was fascinating. So here, I'm gonna put that. Let's see.
Kind of like Palpatine wrecking the Republic from the inside, right?
Yeah. So there's that there, and I'll put it in the other chat too. I know this is great for podcasts, but
Slap it down everywhere.
But no, there's, her idea was, or their idea was for being charming in roleplay, charisma kind of a thing. And as we've said on this, we know a lot of people that think they're being charming, and really it's not. So
They're just being creepy.
creepy.
I mean,
yeah. It's the idealized version of the what they believe is charming, and it's like, actually, you make me want to like furiously call 911 and cross the street when I see you.
There's a fine line between charming and
charisma. Yeah, or exactly. So
And most women are familiar with it because we see it all the time.
Yeah, the quote-unquote nice guys.
Yeah.
Why don't you, incels? Why don't you find me
Incels.
attractive, basic bitches? I don't know. Maybe if you didn't call them basic bitches, they'd probably
There's
go
that.
a lot farther. So, charisma and charm. Some people are born with it. Some people can learn it. And sadly, some people are never going to get it. And they'll always be awkward and uncomfortable. Or as I like to call you, my people.
Even if he punches them in the face.
That's right. So playing a character that's charming actually can be fairly difficult. Not everybody goes for the dashing, charming character kind of guy. Most people just play their characters. It's not really a thing, but there are some that do try to purposely go out of their way to be charming, and it can be hit and miss. Sometimes they don't even try. It's just that the person's naturally charismatic, and Sib, what was that one guy you were talking?
It comes out as, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Just that I think it comes down to whether or not you are charming, sadly.
It can,
Charm is
yeah.
not something that you either know how to be charming or you don't.
Right.
And if you don't know how to be charming, you can't
You fake
pretend
it.
to be charming
Yeah, you
because
try
it
to
comes
fake
off
it.
as creepy. So it really does come down to if you understand what charm really is, then yes. If you don't, it's just going to come off as forced and creepy.
If you say so, milady.
Yeah.
There's a difference between Rufus and his charming dance of joy and Fusro Derp and his I love you, bro, but your name sucks. Going, hey, can I be your guard? Can I come to your house later? No, bro.
Leaning
you
over.
can't.
Yeah.
You're creeping people out. I'm just saying.
Your hair smells like strawberries.
Oh gosh, that is
We
so
went
not
down
charming.
that road. Okay, we can stop now.
So, but yeah, playing a character that is charming can actually be difficult because one person's charming is everyone else's Buffalo Bob, and that one guy that says, "Oh, he had a full closet of human skin suits." No, you know what? In retrospect, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is a very fine line. It's a very, very fine line between, like the ladies were saying. The problem is the second you put a toenail over that line, you're not just like, oh, he's eccentric. It's like, yeah, he's probably he's gonna moisturize me and make me into a skin suit. Yeah.
Oh no.
That's definitely where this conversation is heading. I am never gonna see my family again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when the guy goes, hi, you're so pretty. What's your name? Gee, you want to go for a walk?
Make heavy skin to skin contact.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
no,
I'm gonna go over here. See you
Yeah.
later. Yeah,
Exactly. It is a very, very fine line, and I believe it or not, I actually did research for this one because it was such a good topic. I really am. Good Insomniac. Good. So there are also, the other cool thing about being charming is there are a lot of different kinds of charming. So you could go from Frank Sinatra to Robin Williams to that really friendly girl that we met at Costco that didn't hate her job or her life. There's politicians like Kennedy, Reagan, even though I'm not a fan of him, even Obama, charming fellow. Clinton, back before he got a little out there, could be charming. Fictional characters like Tywin Lannister or his son Tyrion, those two totally different kinds of, they're both very charming people, and one's very scary and the other one's very, that's what I do. I drink and I know things. Very charming. Nearly all the Doctor Who's, they're all quirky in a different kind of way, but they all have a certain charm to them, except the guy in the leather jacket. All the other people, or all of these people actually have, or if they're dead, like Robin Williams, had a certain charm to them. But the thing with that is not a single one of these is anything like any of the other people. But most would admit that each one of them has their own certain charm or charisma. It really is this open air. There's so many different ways. Robin Williams with the way he was with people and things like that. He was cracking jokes. He was always very funny. Very out there, very outspoken and friendly to people. Then you had someone like Frank Sinatra who just played it cool, man. Nothing really bothered him. It just kind of, he just had that voice, the way he dressed and things like that. There's just so many variations of what charming can be to somebody. And like Jazz said, when you have it, like each one of those guys, I mean, that's just who they were. They didn't fake it.
I think that's the trick too. If there is a trick, is just don't push it. Don't force it. Don't try to fake it. Just be,
Don't try to prove how charming you are.
Yeah.
My character, Eli, if you remember, could be very boyishly charming. And I tried very hard that he would rub some people the wrong way. But for the most part, they agreed, even though he was obnoxious, he was charming.
Yeah, a boyish charm.
Yeah. He was always that quirky smirk and he'd compliment people. And he was a little smarmy, but he was very charming and very boyish. And then you had what was the name of that guy? He was kind of the same way, but he always came off as sinister. No matter what he tried to do, he was always very sinister. So, and he was always asking me, what am I doing wrong? Eli is so fun and everybody hates me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to put it to you, but it's just the way that you emote things just comes off very creepy. You need to try to not be that way.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about whenever Ashen asked me about that. There's a character that is played by a friend of mine in the game, and his name is Turmoil. And we have I know I've talked about some of the stories that we've done before, and he's just very, very charming. There's no expectations. It doesn't feel like, he's RPing with me just so he can, get with me. He's RPing with me because it's fun and it's what he loves to do. And it's just random, easygoing, fun little, and he's not afraid to, when he RPs, he's not afraid to have his character make a silly mistake. Like he slipped in the water one time and, we were giggling about it. So there really is, I guess it would be like the boyish charm.
Yeah.
But I've not met
and
a
that's
lot
how
of
it should be,
people
right?
have
That's
that kind of charm.
Yeah. I think charm generally comes off as casually flirtatious, but not in an overly overbearing way.
Yeah.
Right.
And I agree with what Uniface said. If you force it, that's when I think you become creepy and you become insincere.
Yeah.
And people can see right through it.
Yeah, women especially seem to be, most women, because clearly not all of you, because otherwise we wouldn't have those great stories.
Yeah.
But women definitely have a very touchy radar for the insincere charm, I would say.
Warning.
Right.
Yeah.
Y'all can read right through the BS meter. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Ding,
all right.
ding, ding, ding,
Okay, so with that, we're going to go over that. So welcome to Charm School, bitches. Hopefully by the end of this, you'll have so much charm it'll ooze out of every orifice, or you'll stop being that creepy skin-wearing guy we all know you probably are.
No.
What?
No, I could stop.
All right, so we're going to go through things that, and given a lot of these things are meant for like real life situations, but what works in real life does translate into writing, because that's kind of what writing's about. And since we're writing as role play, it's the same difference. So take these for your personal self. If you're always like, how could I be more charming? Moreover, do it what it was intended to be, was how to make your character actually maybe come off as charming and not the creepy mouth breather that you may be portraying without realizing it. So, how do you go about being charming?
Phrasing is a lot of it, I think.
Phrasing would be
like, you can say, I really like the smell of that perfume, versus
or
sniffing and going, wow, that your hair smells just amazing.
You smell purty like my mom's purse.
You smell like the inside of my
By
mom's
the way,
purse.
you got one of them grandma little peppermints in there? Because I sure could go one.
Shitter's full, Clark.
So there's a good way to do it and a bad way to do it. And if you're commenting on anything that would be more visceral, it is going to be considered creepy. If you keep it light and kind of lighthearted, you smell pretty. Or that's a nice perfume. Or did you change something about your hair? Those are charming things.
Or that dress, that you look amazing in that dress. You look very nice. Instead of like constantly like, you're absolutely so beautiful.
Or man, your boobs look nice in that dress. That is definitely a creepy.
Yeah, there's one that's always a fail.
Wait a minute, I think I used that one when we were dating.
No, you didn't. You didn't. You were such a trickster. I didn't even know you were looking.
Mm-hmm. She actually, when we were first dating, she actually wore a low cut shirt, and that was going to be her gauge if I was interested.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that work out?
There you go.
I never once saw him look, and I went back to my friend who told me to do this, and I said, I don't think he's interested in me.
He didn't look once. Oh, I looked. I saw.
It's called that ninja look, man.
She bent over to pet. I can still remember it. She bent over to pet the dog. She was putting dishes in the dishwasher. All great views.
Well played, sir. Well played.
It's like, and I told her that later. It's like, oh no, I'm just a lot better at it than that. I'm not an amateur peeker. I mean,
I'm not an amateur peeker.
No, I mean, I'm looking at Jazz through her window right now. And by the way, Jazz, your tease is getting cold.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh gosh.
So, all right. So one of the big things, and I think probably the most important thing for being charming, is confidence. It's the one thing all those guys up above that I were talking about. One thing they all have in common is they're confident.
And there's a huge difference between confidence and
arrogance.
And arrogance, yes.
Arrogance.
Yeah, there's a fine line.
You can be confident. You can be confident, and you can be arrogant. And it's like one toenail difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would
so
almost
close.
say I don't know, because when a guy or a girl is cocky and arrogant, they know they are, and they act that way.
Yeah,
which is annoying.
Yeah, well, it's look at Chris Pratt, confident and look how charming that guy comes off as. He knows he's funny. I mean, he's hysterically funny, and he knows that, and he's actually pretty wicked smart, and he knows that. But he doesn't let it, he's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just here to make people happy, and it comes off as charming. And I'm assuming for the women, the 6-pack probably doesn't hurt.
Probably not.
Right.
Probably.
You got
probably
that
not.
right.
I mean,
The
you
whole
can bounce,
Darwin status,
just because you can bounce quarters off of his stomach at a 12-foot distance, it's just,
my goodness. Yes.
But, or Jason Momoa, he's another one who's
Oh God. Shh.
See,
No, we're not going to talk about him.
And both of those
because I'll
guys,
start drooling, and
they're both totally different people, but they're both if you ever watch interviews with either of those actors, they're very charming in their own ways. Totally different ways.
The second one is more boyish.
Exactly.
He's very boyish, crooked smile, mischievous.
If you've ever seen pictures of him, there was an awards ceremony, and he was behind Henry Cavill, the guy that played Superman, and he's like, the shot is of him crouched down and with his arms out, like he's getting ready to tackle the guy at an awards ceremony. He's definitely got a sort of boyish charm, that's for sure.
Okay, I saw, just going off on a little thing here, tangent. I saw a video with him. He was at, I want to say Wizards World in New Orleans, but he was at one of the cons, and he comes walking out with all his security. He's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and pink pants, and he's just hugging people as he's walking along.
He does not care.
He's just hugging everyone. I was like, I want to be there.
Yeah, and
I would just pass out right there.
Just be like,
just die.
never watch that part of your body ever again. You'd go from charming to creepy because you'd be like in your forearm, like.
Yeah, I'd be like
Moa.
sniffing my arm, licking my
like
arm.
Peter off Family Guy with the growth on his arm.
Right. But, so that's the thing. Confidence, self-assuredness, a certain confidence that doesn't creep into arrogance. And, you can get, for the obvious example, Trump, arrogant. And that's why he kind of comes off the way he does. I mean, whatever other issues you may have him, compare him, policies aside, compare a Trump to an Obama. Obama's a lot slicker. Trump, kind of an arrogant ass. It's one of the problems I have. I'm not a big fan of his personal stuff like that. That's a big prime example. Two totally, same job, same level of power, totally different people, So the other one, too, going after confidence, especially in role play, this can make a big difference. You got to, how you dress the part or your image. Because, let's be honest, looking good is often feeling good. We've all put on that nice suit or dress and, for a wedding or something like you're going to. And you just feel, it feels good. It feels good to wear something like that. You look good. It's something outside your comfort zone usually, but it does have a certain feeling to it. So, or if we see someone dressed up nicely and it automatically puts a positive image in our minds of them, as long as they're, smiling and not, they're not wearing a $2,000 Armani suit, but they're also in the mafia family and they're scowling at you because you're about to have your knees broken. Probably not as charming, but they look good, So, image is just such a huge part of perception. And given that we play in MMOs, the style might be a little limited depending on, which one you're in. But someone dressed in a nice coordinated armor or clothing where it's all color matched, all the pieces are the same style, things like that, is always going to be a lot more interesting than somebody in that, multicolored vomit bag or a loincloth. Where nothing matches. It's like what everyone hates being a newbie in a game because you're in that newbie gear and it's just like, it looks like something your cat did
God, that's the worst.
when they ate too much food. It's just awful. So,
true.
That's those two things. They're a big kind of that's like your first the image is your first impression on like if you're going to come off as charming or not. And given in MMOs, it also kind of goes in the other way too, because, if you see someone dressed in the, the all black, super gothy leather and they've got all the glowing effects, you're like, oh, douchebag, or
that's a pay attention to me,
right?
Person.
Or or if they don't have, if they're dressed in all black and they got their face colored, you're like assassin-y, so clearly you're playing an assassin or spy or something like that. It's very obvious from the get-go exactly what you're playing at. Draxilis.
They're not being very subtle, right?
Right. He wears mostly. It's all
People
white
clothes.
and it's suits and nice clothes.
The white is an interesting thing because that definitely makes people kind of look at him and go,
yeah,
what's up with that? Because people wear black.
Yeah,
not white. You don't.
And the
see
first
people
time I brought him
wearing
out, I did that. I was like, he did look good, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go with all white instead. You know, part of it was because I was like, you know, it was the Thrawn inspiration, and then I was like, you know, doing all white would
I love that, by the way, bro.
Would
Love
definitely be. It's different, you know. And Kyotin, he's the guy that Mike Draxus is kind of his boss basically in the guild, and he wears all black all the time. So now he's got a new subordinate that wears all white. And it was kind of funny the other night when we were at the tavern and they're standing next to each other at a pole. On one side, you got black. The other one is all white. It's kind of this weird dichotomy of, you know, they kind of do the same stuff, or they will, but just it's clearly a totally different way of going about it. And somebody did call them a salt and pepper shaker, which I thought was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny.
But, you know, dressing in that first impression, you know, how many times you've probably heard that first impressions made within the first 5 seconds of meeting somebody. They already know if they're going to like you or not, you know.
Yep.
And it's a lot harder to reverse that than ruin that.
If you meet somebody and you give them a bad first impression for their personality versus your personality, it's really hard to undo that because it's going to be stuck in their head. It's not that it's necessarily it matters. I mean, Ciel doesn't do first impressions. She does how you treat me is the only thing that matters. And if it changes, then she changes.
Yeah.
So people think that she's psychotic. Well, they're right.
Right.
But most people aren't like that.
No.
And that's important to remember.
Well,
that,
and like you're not really probably it's hard for
I'm nothing.
Yeah,
like
you can't.
I'm not like that at all.
Yeah, because we're emotional people.
And Kia isn't like that, and Soldrini isn't like that. Soldrini will remember your screw up for the rest of her life. She's a grudge holding motherfucker.
Oh,
and
so it's like being married to my ex-wife, right? Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Yeah.
No, she's also nothing like me.
Remember that one time 5 years ago on the 13th of December, you said I looked fat. I said no. I said there's a lot of fat on that. It's a steak, not you. Shut up, fatty.
Yeah. So I think that when you're making a first impression, you need to have that in mind, who you're meeting, not just who you want your character to be, but also who you're meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people remember back in Vaca days, people would walk in for their first interview and be like, you know, she'd say, have a seat. You don't tell me what to do. I'll stand if I want to. And she'd be like one eyebrow up. Oh, really?
Yeah. Which goes to, I'm going to skip over the next one and go to what you're talking about. Read the room.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a jovial gathering, people are drinking and chatting, or if it's an intellectual as they talk on history or some sort of magical studying bullshit, whatever, or if they're talking war and tactics, or if it's a funeral, read the fucking room. If you go to a funeral and start telling stories about that one time in the battle for the Island of Spice, read the room. And that's exactly what
they're talking about. You know, how somebody is annoying and they've just gotten around to having to work with them, and then you pop up and say, I found a cow today.
Right. You're not charming. That's not a very, read the room.
Yeah. Read the room is very important.
Yeah.
And keep track of the conversation. And if you're one of those people, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, that has to look at their hands when they type, which is fine, look up at the room before you post.
Yeah.
To make sure that what you're about to say isn't going to be out of left field for what everyone else is talking about.
Right.
You may have to change what you wrote, and just make sure. You're better to take longer time to post, even though I hate it, and I'll admit that. I would rather you take longer to post than to post something completely off topic
from 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's true.
Yeah, and charm. That's one of those things with when it comes to charm. You just you can feel the there's a certain ebb and flow to conversation and energy to it. And people that are charming, man, they can ride that wave in and out like a surfboard. I mean, they can come in, they can make their comment or whatever, and then they just whoosh, right back out. And it's perfectly smooth. Doesn't always have to be about look at me or this or that. It's just kind of one of those things. you know. But if you're not paying enough attention to know, you know, you're bringing up something out of left field, man, it just doesn't go well. It makes you, it comes off as like, oh, you're touched in the head. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Moving on.
But
it's bad optics.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it comes off as exactly like, well, we're not talking about that ever. So, and then they just, you know, they'll turn their shoulder to you and just kind of keep on going with their conversation. But another one too that I skipped over to get to that is meth.
Meth.
If you want to be confident, lots and lots of meth.
Oh God. Just say no, kids.
Up until your teeth fall out, then you're probably not going to feel so confident anymore.
And your face starts looking like a zombie.
Yeah, well, you know, little things. But make an effort and don't play it cool. And this works as well in real life as it does in gaming, and gaming especially. So, you know, because you know what isn't charming, ignoring everybody around you, or wall support as we call them.
The wall support.
That's right.
Never ending.
In real life, sure, you know, you can just be, you know, if you're shy and awkward in real life and you're at a party, you know, it works fine. You know, people can, but there's a difference in that, because in real life, people can see your you know, your body language. They can see maybe you're not comfortable. They can see, you know, there's different visual cues in real life that you can read that let people know, okay, well, they're not being obtuse and aloof. They're clearly just uncomfortable, or maybe they don't know anybody here. You know, we can tell the difference.
And in real life, some kind soul will come say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah, you can easily be like, "Oh, you know, you're the shy, awkward guy in the corner, or girl, or whatever," and you know, someone usually will take pity on you and go up to you.
And don't be the person that says, "Sorry, I'm the shy, awkward girl in the corner."
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
Yeah, because then
you're going to get the wrong attention instantly.
Because then you come off as that's where you cross the line from charming to, oh, you're one of those people. You're self-aware.
How nice. Yes.
Lovely. So, but you know, for in real life, like I said, that works in role play. You're far more charming by being seen making an effort to get to know and introduce yourself to people than, you know, like pig's teeth with dagger while gazing about the room at the sheep.
Oh gosh.
Having fun.
Oh my God, when people do that, I just want to go, really? I just want to turn around and say, really? That you thought about posting that and that's what you came up with?
Makes me sprain my eyes from rolling them so hard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You have people who come in and say, you know, look, it's all the in-laws standing there acting like whores.
Yeah.
They're out there, kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's not, you know, just and of course the difference, there's a big difference, I would say, in real life and role play. In role play, just the emote of that, you know, maybe they didn't even say anything. Man, you've already lost some charm points right there. You know, you're dipping into the negative of being charming. You know, if you say that you're leaning on the wall and you're picking your teeth, looking about the, you know, the new character, he looks, he observes, but he also is engaged. But while people are sitting there chatting back and forth, and you know, he has no way of like just jumping in the conversation, or he's letting them talk it out, that's what he'll do.
Yeah. And Sia does that too. She watches the room or watches a person and, you know, observes their body language or their weapons or whatever, but she doesn't put what she's thinking about their body language into there. She's simply pointing out that, and in an emote, I'm pointing out that she's doing those things. The minute that you put your inner voice into that, people have a right to know that your expression or something about your body language is showing that to them.
Which is why when I put thoughts in my emotes, you know, I'm fully aware that it's going to influence what they think my character's doing, which is why I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't call people sheep, but, you know, like gazing around the room, looking at all the party goers and as they revel and have fun, you know, when you type something like that, there's a different psychology that, oh, well, that guy's not being a dick. He's just watching the room.
Right.
You know, or...
you got to be careful because sometimes those first impressions you will never recover from.
Yeah.
Case in point, this guy we know... Sorry, Ashton.
No, go ahead.
I first joined Silver Circle. This guy was moping around in guild chat, like lamenting why he wasn't getting attention, and I'm like, who's this douchebag? Later comes to find out this was a fair weather guildmate that came and go and would disappear often, and he was not getting what he wanted, so he was moping around. And forever in my mind, he was that mope around dude that just didn't get his way. So he was like a spoiled kid.
Yeah.
He has never lived that down with me because I'm like, dude, you really?
Yeah, and it kind of, we're talking about in character, but yeah, it kind of works out of character too. Those.
Well, it is out of character as well, but you're not. People are like, you're mixing if you can tell. No, because your body language, your facial expressions, even the overall feel of a person can. If you're disdainful of the people around you. Haven't you ever been in a room with somebody who you knew was kind of curling their nose at you, even though you couldn't really see it?
Too good to be there.
Yeah, and you can tell. And even if it's not a correct assumption in real life, I mean, I've assumed that people were snotty that weren't. They were just uncomfortable, and that was kind of the aura they were giving off. But regardless, in role play, everything that you put in your emotes is communicated to
or
the
talk
people
about
around
it.
you.
Let's see. Like there are certain people in some of the guilds. There was somebody the other day, they were bitching about how Discord now is selling video games like Steam and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, who gives a shit? I mean, they have to make money. You're using their service for free. It's okay. But nothing with that individual, nothing is ever good enough ever. He complains about the games that he plays all the time. It's just one bitch fest after another, and because of that, I mean, I have other reasons, but that it does not do anything to turn my view of him around because everything is a complaint, and it gets tiring. It's just like if I could put him on ignore, I would, but it doesn't do any good. But another one I was going to say is Insomniac in the chat said that is why they tend to have their character look at people's body language constantly. And honestly, if you say stuff like that too, a lot of people, if you say that your character is looking at the body language of other people around them, or they gaze specifically, if my character's emotes gazing at Jazz's body language to see how she reacts to such and such. Instinctively, she'll probably tell me.
Yes. I get
you will
tells
type it out.
From people in Riften all the time. Not usually outwardly, but they'll send me tells because the I will emote looks at his weapons, his armor, his body language, and he'll send me a tell and say, well, he's standing kind of like he's this big tough guy, but I don't know, you get an overall sense that he's probably full of shit and his weapons aren't very well made.
Yeah.
So people will help you. But if you start assuming things, they're less likely to do that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, and it's kind of a give and take thing. It's something most people don't really think about it, but yeah, a lot of times if you do specify that you're zeroing in on something on another character, the other person will respond with, especially if it's, emoted, without being a dickhole about it. They'll let you know what's going on. They also said that's why they Insomniac said they also avoid inner monologues unless it's for humor. I gotta say I usually do it for the quick joke myself too. More often than not, it's to make a quick joke. But
yeah, I will. I've done that. I've things that Cial assumes or that she's thinking or makes a mental note about. People will find that funny. I try to keep it light.
Right. It's not insulting, although people do that too. But that
although every now and then, if somebody's being really obnoxious, I'll have her.
And there is a place for that too.
And her face shows that she thinks he's an idiot. Right. I mean, I will emote that because she does.
Right.
But
it's that
what your character's doing.
It's that look at someone when you're like, really? Okay, you're.
That's what we're doing now, I guess. Yeah.
So you have your elevator doesn't go all the way to the top. Gotcha. So yeah, one of the biggest things is in becoming and coming off as charming as your character is just making an effort. It's the same thing in real life. The people you see that are life of the party, they're just out there. They're talking to people. There's no strangers in the room. They know the second they start talking to you, you feel like you've known them forever. They're making an effort. They actually, and we're going to get to how that
it's
works.
It's like Kaio in the bar.
But yeah. So, let's see, read the room. Another one, too, of course, once you're making an effort, and one that obviously works pretty well for a lot of people, is humor. A lot of real charming people, part of what makes them charming is they can make you laugh, and while humor can be subjective, probably telling a dick joke or a political joke or a racial joke or a religious joke or a sexual joke with, people you don't know, probably
Pretty much gonna bomb.
Right, probably a safe bet it's going to be more miss than hit. Yeah. But if you have a natural flow or, a good one after, reading the room, it can be a great icebreaker, I use humor all the time in almost every interaction I have with everybody ever, because it's just how I do things. I don't know any other way. If I'm not making people laugh, it's probably because I'm in a bad mood and I just shouldn't be talking to people. And another thing a lot of confident and charming people do is they lead with their flaws. Many confident and charming people have no problem being the center or even the butt of jokes.
It's true.
Often it's the self-deprecating humor, or they lead with their own flaws as the joke, and this it makes them laugh. And while it might be because of you as the person, the people around you that are laughing, they're laughing with you and not at you, which is kind of a big deal. There's a big difference between being self-deprecating, the things that some of the stuff we say here on the show. Clearly, we're all fairly self-deprecating in our humor. The stuff I'll say to Sib about her finding somebody else one day, long from now.
That's terrible.
I told him in another year, I get to find 220s.
Yeah, I'm gonna be 40. I'm gonna be 40
You are
this
switching
year.
up models, huh?
Yeah.
220s. I'm looking for 220s next year.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a cougar time, there
I
you
believe
go.
she's in Puma status right now. Dang, that cougar broke.
Jazz is so old,
Didn't work.
her purring's broke.
There we go.
She
There
did
you
it
go.
awesome.
But when with self-deprecating stuff, many people, they think a lot of people think acting silly kind of makes you look foolish. But really most people kind of, more often than not, they respect it, and they kind of wish they could be that over their shy selves. I mean, I remember going back to high school and stuff like that. You'd see those kids and that would, they're in like pep rallies and stuff, which were the worst. But still, you'd see that guy, that real confident kid that he'd get out there and he'd be dancing, spontaneously, and everyone would be clapping and laughing at him. But they'd be laughing with him, not at him, because he was being, it was just as that guy, he and a lot of times I'm like, man, I wish I had the confidence to do that. I did not. But that's just kind of how that goes with our son. He's, he worries about looking silly or doing something that'll make, people might make fun of him, but really it's most people, if you kind of just go along with it, you're not afraid to make fun of yourself or look like, make a little bit of a fool of yourself, as long as you're not being a complete, buffoon and you can't help it. But most people, they kind of have a lot of respect for that. And, when you're out there role playing in a tavern, you tell a joke, your character tells a joke, but it's kind of, it digs fun at themselves. It goes a long way. It really does. So then after that, another really big thing after humor, being positive is very charming, because you know what people don't like? Downers, unless of course they come in a tiny pill form.
Oh gosh.
In which case you can skip past this whole charm school section. Just give, for those of us without hard narcotics, though, which if you have them, just pass those out. You're going to be the life of the party. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Don't listen to him.
No, kids, don't do drugs.
Remember, kids, stay off milk. Do your drugs.
I think it's the opposite, boss.
What?
Don't listen to him.
I'm pretty sure I have it right. So positivity is a key. You know, look for connections with other people, things you may have in common. Look for things that you have in common with other people, not things that you don't. Commonality in positive traits is a key component into liking, not turning away people, uncomfortably. It's really not that hard. It shouldn't be. I mean,
it shouldn't be at all.
I was going to say it shouldn't be, but for a lot of people, it really is.
Yeah, and
they
I
have
can
a
be
lot of trouble.
I can be a negative person, clearly. But focus on, you focus on ways that if you want to be charming, it's finding those things that you have in common with somebody. If someone's like, for example, because the clear example these days is politics. Nothing says, if someone's talking about politics and maybe you don't agree with them, going in there like, you're an idiot. Charming.
Yeah, it's not gonna.
Charming.
Lack of charm.
You're right. You can be, but you can say like, you can also do the other thing is skirt around it. Move around like, yeah, hey, that reminds me of, or you find the one thing in their, senseless, inane ranting, if that's what they're doing, that you actually did agree with, and instead of all the other 95% of the bullshit, you latch onto that 5%. And in role play, there's it's definitely not usually as contentious as things can be, in real life, which is kind of the benefit, because everyone's typing everything out. You kind of have the, they're going to typically, a lot of people don't go out of their way in role play to be the one that's not liked. A lot of people are trying to be liked still. There are a few, and they play those characters very well. Some of them, it's just because they don't know how not to be that way, and they can't help it. But...
Yeah, I play Cial. She doesn't care whether you like her or not. She's
right.
just herself. That becomes very clear after a little while, but at least I wish it did. And apparently people still act surprised every now and then. She's not very nice.
Yeah.
No,
really
she's
isn't.
not. She's really not a nice person. And I'm sorry, you just figured that out.
Right. Yeah. Which, and there's nothing wrong. She's not there. She's not supposed to be a charming character. So that would, this works also in the opposite, I guess, if you really want to do it. This works in the opposite. Don't do these things if you don't want your character to be charming,
Yeah.
Cial kind of does, a lot of this stuff in the reverse. She would pick probably the thing that, oh, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah. She'll just come right out and say it. Yeah.
Instead of being the diplomatic and doing the somewhat charming thing of like, oh, well, I do believe that, I don't know, the white throne is white. I don't know. Cracker throne is what they're going to call it.
Oh, gosh.
So, what?
Nothing.
It's the game of crackers.
Oh, my gosh.
That would be Game of Saltines, my
Game
friend.
of saltines.
So
man,
wrong.
there's a guy, comedian out there that did racism things based on crackers and like cookies and things like that.
Oh gosh.
From underneath the thing, and it was brilliantly done. Or he was telling the history of the world via crackers and chips and condiments and stuff under your sink.
Snack
it was
food.
so good. I have to see if I can't find that sometime. So another positive thing, other than being positive, is physical and eye contact. And this, I will say, this one may not translate great into roleplay at times because, in real life, making eye contact or, little things like that, it works a lot better because having to type it out can. But even if you, something as simple as a handshake or the old, like even again, read the room, like the grabbing a woman's hand and kissing the top of her knuckles, it can be very charming. If you're at a party or a high society thing in role play, if you're at the Riften bar or the Goldshire, probably not the place to go about that.
No.
I mean, ladies,
If you do, you're
tell
probably
me
gonna have some growing in your lip afterwards. If it's
right.
cold.
I mean, tell me if I'm, if there's what's the situational, like, good to meet you, my lady, mwah, or the charmed. I'm sure that whole looking over her hand is she's in an evening dress kind of a thing. That pretty much has to be in an evening dress for that to work, right?
Or you're just an Altmer. I'm just saying that's how I play Trath. And you ask Bolee, he's freaking formal all the time.
Yeah, he's very formal all the time. And he does charming well. Sometimes, well, it depends on your character too, because Voley hated him at first.
Oh, she hated his guts, which is funny.
Now she just thinks it's funny, and she's grown used to it, and that's him. That's how he plays his character.
Well, it's like Rufus. He's got a different kind of charm. Trath's got his own.
Yeah.
Even Rengott's Vodka found charming, which I don't know why. She's a little messed up, but
she found Rengott's was very charming. Come on, he could be. He could also be terrifying.
Yeah,
but he definitely could be charming when he wanted to be. Oh, my lady. He's very good at that when he wanted.
He was just playing that old, dark elf politics stuff, and matron this, and all the old rules. But yeah,
and another one, for like for women, the the touch of the elbow or the playful you slap to the forearm kind of a thing. That stuff all works great in real life, but
don't go slapping somebody.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't come off. It comes off a little weird in role play, just especially unless you know the person. Then you could probably get away with it. But there are certain things that work better in real life. That especially for women, you're so funny kind of thing.
Always
where
attempt. I would say always attempt.
Where they pat your hand.
That is a safe bet.
Yeah. Well, even then, it's it's like there's that guy that really loves combat. He's like, dodges quickly. I was just trying to pat your hand. Oh, sorry. Another one though, and this one works a lot better in role play, is eye contact, because when it's written out, it also lets people know that your character's focused on them, and who doesn't love to be the focus of someone's attention?
It's true.
Except for everybody. Jazz does that too.
I was gonna say, because I get a lot of negative attention from that, and it's really annoying. That used to work really well, and it doesn't so much anymore. It's very, very annoying.
Well, and there's a difference in the way you do it. Like when you're at a meeting kind of a thing, and you know everybody, and you focus on them, they're cool with that. But the way your one character does it at like Kitty's Tavern or Tea Night or Tea House, that's it. And you're staring at people from across the room. It puts them on edge because you're staring at them from across the room. You're not talking to them.
What's that
There's
dude
a
about?
difference.
She's studying them. She doesn't say she's staring. She says she's just studying them. She's watching them.
And to study somebody, you have to
stare.
Well, yes, but I don't see why that is so threatening to some people.
I have no idea.
Because you're creepy. I'm kidding. We love you, Jazz.
Well, it could be.
Well, no, I mean, I won't say that it's not. I'm just saying that
could be because you're crossing your eyes and going at them at the same time.
It's not like she's doing that or she's like glaring or anything. She's just watching and why are you watching me? What do you want, Willis? You need to tell me what it is. And this is like, dude, she's just looking at you. She finds it funny.
It's what you talking about, Willis, not what you want, Willis.
I know. I was being facetious.
You were misquoting it.
I was not misquoting it.
She was misquoting it.
I remember it differently.
That's my line.
Dang, that's your only use of tonight. You used it.
I remember it differently too, Jazz.
Dang,
Thank you.
Y'all both burned that statement. You only got one per episode.
All right, so the next one, this one came up on like everything. I looked up multiple articles on how to be charming and things like that, and this one was on pretty much all of them. Remembering people's names, and it came up, like I said, over and over and over. And people like being remembered. And something as simple as remembering their name after you've just met them, it can really sway someone from like, oh, it's nice, into oh, they're charming. And like for me personally, I'm terrible with real life names, but in games, like the dude.
Well, it is above their head.
It's floating above their fucking head. You have no excuse
but
if that's how you want to go.
Because a lot of people do not have the name that they have above their head.
True.
There is that, but not. Yeah, it's still not that many people. It's
Oh
not.
well, it's a lot of people I bump into. And so I can't rely on it because I don't know.
I think
and they think they're being.
I think
sneaky
you
or
remember
something.
the ones that come up more often because it
Fine.
happens. You remember that. I mean, everybody at the table last night, they all went by the name that was above their head.
That's us. That's different.
Yeah, but still, we still have that. That's still a cross section of role players, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
we know each other. That's different.
Yeah.
But I'm saying what I think is that you see it more often. You see it and you remember that as if it happens more often than it does because it stands
Okay.
out. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because I don't see it that. I mean, there are those that do that, but it's not nearly what you make it out to be. It's like 5%. I'm saying it's 5%. Just listen to me. I know what I'm talking about.
Of course you do.
I'm
Don't
on.
listen in.
I'm on a radio show.
Don't listen. Don't.
But yeah, like, and one of my character, because I'm terrible at it, many of my character traits, except for the new one, is they're terrible at remembering names. So even though they're above there, I'll always say their name wrong. Which is not always the most charming of things, but...
she's not charming. Tarvala is not charming at all.
No. She was meant to always be this awkward kind of like, meh person.
She looks charming until she opens her mouth.
Yeah.
Then all bets are off.
That's right. No, she's very awkward. But, and Xanis, he was the same way. Although I never knew if he was really bad at it or he just did it on purpose to mess with people. I was never positive on that myself, honestly.
Well, he was your tune, so surely you
Yeah,
knew.
no, I was never sure.
I thought
really
he was
wasn't.
always the subtle troll, and I kind
Yeah.
of love that about Xanis.
Yeah, I think sometimes it was legitimate, and other times he's like, damn, I really don't remember their name. Or he's like,
Nice.
He's like, I don't remember who you are. And other times he's like, I know who you are. You're just not worth it.
Or you could be like Cial, who gives names to people.
Right. There was someone else that did stuff. Oh, there's a guy at my job. Willie does that.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
He renames Miguel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I would
He's not
slap
lying.
someone who did that to me. It drives me crazy. And I know this. I make Cial do it, and it's one of those things that I would literally slap the taste out of her mouth if she did that on a regular basis to me. So
He called me Chris Rock.
Yep, Chris Rock. That's right.
Mhm.
All right, so another
like there
good
was
one.
when I worked, I used to be DJ, not jazz, and
Yeah.
I went by DJ forever and ever and ever in my youth. And there was a guy that I worked with at McDonald's who called me ABC. He never called me DJ. He always called me ABC. He thought he was cute or funny or whatever. And he was the only person in my entire life that had ever done that. And then when I bumped into him again, it was because I was at a grocery store in another part of the country. I was in Missouri. He was from Iowa. I was in Missouri shopping with a friend of mine when I was in my 30s. And I hear ABC, and I knew exactly who it was. And I turned around and went, "Oh my God, can you not get my name right?" And he laughed, and we hugged, and I met his wife. It was fun, but it was one of those things. But if you think about it, even if you give somebody a different name, you still remember their name.
Mhm.
Like,
True.
Cial still calls Mara Sparkles
She does.
99% of the time.
It's hilarious.
So she calls her Sparkles, and she knows that's her nickname with Sia. So when she calls her Sparkles, Mara knows she's being talked about, and she's like, "Oh, hi, Sia,"
Yeah.
because she still remembers her name. So it's not necessarily
Yeah.
it has to do with identification and giving that person something of themselves. It makes people feel better about you,
Yeah. Exactly.
even when you're a terrible person like Cial.
Yeah. But it's her own little kind of version of charming in a way.
Yes,
you know?
it is. It's her own little version.
So the other one next is listening, which does seem to be easy. Right?
You
Not
would think.
really,
No.
You would
no.
think.
You'd think,
but it's not.
it's a conversation, and everyone should be listening, but we all know that isn't the case. How do we know? No follow-ups. In RP, nothing tells people you paid attention to nothing at all more than, it tells people that you paid attention if you say, wait, you said you grew up in Rohan. Was that like, or what was that like, kind of a thing. It works it works a lot better when you have a follow-up question to what they were saying than, slash nods 25,000 times.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, given, they may know that you're paying attention, but then again, you could also be watching funny cat videos on the other screen and just doing slash nods over and over, and they're just basically talking to themselves. So,
people don't like that.
Yeah, people like knowing they're being listened to, and and how do we know that? Because we're people.
We like being listened to.
We do like being listened to.
I mean, what do we
If
do?
I'm talking and you're talking next to me and you don't read what I freaking wrote 3 separate times, I'm going to assume either you don't want to hear what I say,
or you're just
not
distracted.
flat out paying attention to anybody other than the person that you are intent on speaking to, and everyone else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's exactly what most people will assume.
Yeah. Which you can get away with that in like the tea house, like when it's crazy crowded and stuff that. I tend to focus on the people that are like the ones in my conversation circle. That's all I can focus on, because if I read everything else, I'd miss the ones that I'm actually talking to.
Yeah.
But when it's like 4 or 5 of you, or like even when you're the Alanu Bar Night thing, when there's like 7 or 8 people there, that's not hard to keep up with. So if someone says,
well, it would be for some people, and if you know that a person has problems with that, you'll be more patient with it. But
also you have to think, that the reason I say wouldn't be that hard is also a lot of them aren't. It's not like it's coming out like 1,000 words a minute kind of a thing like you do at the tea house, because you've got 24 people or 30 people all around you, and when we do the Alanu Bar Night, it moves at a reasonable pace. It really doesn't move that fast, So. 6-8 people, there's really not a lot of reason not to do that. But, if it gets above that, I can see where that gets a little harrowing. But just like especially if you're having like a 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 or 1-on-3 conversation,
might want to pay attention.
Right. And you're just like, there's nothing that irritates me more than when we're like, you're talking with somebody and you go on and on and on. And then you're like, and then the other person responds, and the third or fourth other person in there is like nothing. Are you why are you even here? Why? Because you're clearly not paying attention. So why?
Yeah, we got a few friends like that. They'll be in the middle of a conversation, and then they just stop responding, and you're like, dude.
And I don't mind if you AFK'd, you say something.
Well, yeah.
Just let me know. But
don't ghost on people.
Yeah, don't
ghost.
When
you ghost on people and then you come back, and then you're like, well, I wasn't here. Well, we didn't know that.
Yeah, we were talking.
So maybe tell us.
Yeah.
So you were totally here, just saying.
And that's one of those places where that gets noticed out of character even more so than in character. And that there's definitely the charm thing goes not just for out of character, or in character, but there's you start to learn who you like and who you don't, and part of that comes off as the way you talk to them.
Yep.
It's true.
So after the listening, this one's kind of a big one. I've got a couple things here for this one. One of the big things that comes off, and this was the best way they put it, but it came up on a few of the lists, was give them what everyone wants. And what everyone wants is to be understood. Most people would say we all want to be liked, or we want to be, loved. But really what people want is to be understood, and not just understood in the way that you would understand it, but understood in the way that they perceive themselves.
And that's really hard, because there's a lot of times that's not going to happen, particularly if you have issues and are not necessarily explaining yourself really well. Then people aren't going to understand you, and then you feel isolated because nobody well, that's not how my character is. Why do you keep assuming they're this way? Well, that's how you act. No, I don't. I do this. Well,
yeah. And that there's actually this next part in here actually goes over that, Jazz. So let me read this thing here real quick. Psychologists call this a desire for self-verification, and it is a profound and universal need. People become really uncomfortable when they get compliments or criticism they feel they don't genuinely deserve. And this, what that means is that what this means for you is that praising someone for a quality they don't believe they possess can backfire on you big time. And the best way is to steer clear of this problem is to stick with truthful affirmations. In other words, affirm the abilities and accomplishments that you have direct evidence of, the ones that you know to be authentic and genuinely admire. So as the person's talking, you don't compliment them on something that they have never even mentioned before. Because if they don't believe that is, if I, like Yunfei. Yunfei is an amazing artist. So if I tell her she's an amazing artist, she's going to get embarrassed, but she knows that she's really good. And I have pictures to prove it. But if I told her, hey, Yunfei, you're a fantastic driver.
Oh, good Lord.
She doesn't drive.
I mean, to be fair, I have a perfect driving record.
Well,
because you don't drive.
You don't drive. I mean, to be fair, I've never fallen off of a horse, but then again, I'm also not a horseback rider.
There you go. See, perfect.
I have a perfect record. Right, but maybe that might be a little bit of an exaggerated example. But yeah, especially if you tell somebody, like if you one, and I think this is, ladies, you back me up if this is something that happens, if women don't, not everyone believes they're beautiful, even though they may be, and if they get complimented on their looks, they take it as they don't take it the way it was intended, and it doesn't come off as charming. It comes off like you're being a condescending asshole, or that you're just trying to get something out of them.
That you're trying to manipulate the situation and get something for nothing.
Yes.
And that's one of my flaws, and my husband has struggled with that his whole life with me. So yeah, that's definitely something that's hard to deal with. And like because in ESO you can't have a profile,
right?
Which sucks. So you can't say the character is horribly scarred. You can't know that if you don't look at the profile. Then because you can't look at the profile. But if you hear a person constantly talking about the scars on their face and you say you're beautiful, they're going to respond in an abrasive way. And you better be able to explain why you think that's beautiful.
Right. Strafei and Sib, Volley and Trath. Volley does not think she's attractive.
Gosh, yes.
So every time he would say that she was beautiful, she'd get pissed.
That's her hot button. You don't dare compliment her. Now, Trath has kind of got her out of that, but there's sometimes he'll say,
which is why Ciol,
like, what the
every
fuck
time Ciol sees her,
it's like, oh
Ciol's
god,
like, you're so beautiful.
Yeah, but so
he hates it.
Yeah, so
but at this time, I think she
can
knows
do that.
Ciol's fucking with her.
Right,
so.
Ciol can do that. But if Drax came up to her and said, "You're actually very beautiful for an orc," wouldn't go over well because they don't know each other at all.
He'd probably get punched.
Right.
Probably.
And even then, Trath's got to temper it with how mighty or how warrior-y she is.
Yeah.
Then he slips in the compliment real slow, and so it's like a slow burn.
Right.
And she looks at him like, "Did you just trick me?" Like, it's always hilarious.
Yeah.
That was a huge problem when they first started hanging out. Oh, she would get so mad at him. She'd be like, "Shut up. Don't say that."
Right. So, and that's that, being charming, like that really kind of comes down to reading the room, and that comes from reading the room to reading the person. That if you don't, and it's at least in role play too. Most people will tell like I've been finding out with Draxilis now that I've been paying attention to this. People will tell you a lot more information than you may even realize that that if you're not paying attention really closely and looking specifically for that because of a character trait that you probably just glance over because it's really not that big of a deal. But you can read more into it if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
But, so I wouldn't go around complimenting people on, based on, he will make assumptions and things like that, but he couches that in the assumption, like it could be this or this, but like this, and this is probably out of the question. Another thing in this, go ahead.
I was going to say another good example is, I don't know how many people saw Ready Player One.
Right.
But
yes,
the little girl that, I can't even remember her name. Oh my gosh.
With the crazy red scar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember her name.
She did not want to be complimented, or she did not think she was beautiful, but
even though that scar was cool, anyway.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It was that birthmark was like, okay, you realize it's not like Boris Yeltsin's birthmark on his head. It's really not that big a deal.
She didn't want people to know because she didn't feel like,
Yeah. Yeah, and she didn't take it well when they did meet, even in the books or although in the movie it was like, really? I can't tell if that's a birthmark or a shadow. It is, you are still clearly, obviously beautiful. In the book, I think it was a little bit more disfiguring, but even still, it wasn't that bad.
But no, that was another example of women that don't like to be told they're beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah.
A lot of women don't,
Yeah, well, and if it comes off insincere, like there's some people we've known in the guilds that they'll be like, oh, they'll constantly be praising over the character's beauty and things like that, and it just comes off insincere. It's not. It doesn't come off. They believe they're being very charming because women like being complimented, right? Every woman likes to be told how beautiful they are.
You have to do the little things, though, bro, to be charming.
Every woman.
Like, when I get home, one of my boys walks up to me and says, "Mom, you look really nice today."
And Mom says, "What do you want?"
I said, "What did you do?"
Right.
What? I can't just appreciate your beauty? What did you do? And at that point, Daddy comes out and goes, "Oh, I see my son's trying to suck up to you because he's in trouble."
Yeah.
And he slunk off at that point, and I got full. But it was just, I swear, it's a human instinct that when you want to get out of something, you compliment somebody on how they look.
Yeah, and I'll say something because I've recently said some things to Sib, and for me it was just I was sincere and I meant it, and it was just no big deal. It was just kind of an observation, and later in the day she's like, when you said that this morning, it made me feel so good. I was like,
it did.
I was like, what did I say?
So I can say it again. Tell me.
Yeah, and I was completely sincere, but it was just it was just an offhanded, I wasn't trying to blow her mind and make her feel great or anything like that. It
was a super sweet compliment, and I took it very, it was like, oh.
Oh, you get the ahs, bro. Good job. Now just can't remember what you did.
Oh, I told him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No. Well, yeah. I didn't know what she had meant when she said that. I was like, what did I say? I was like, oh, well, I meant it. Yeah. So, I think another thing here going too on that the self-verification thing. There was one of the articles I was reading. There was from Sam Gosling. He's I'm going to say this of course, I know who Sam Gosling is for the rest of you little people that haven't heard of him before just this moment, unlike me, who only heard of him 2 days ago. He's a personality and social psychiatrist, and I liked what he had to say. So, quote, identity claims are deliberate statements we make about our attitudes, goals, values, etc. One of the things that's really important to keep in mind about identity statements is because these are deliberate, many people assume we are being manipulated with them and we're being disingenuous. But I think there's little evidence to suggest that this goes on. I think generally people want to be known. They'll even do that at the expense of looking good. They'd rather be seen authentically than positively if it came down to that choice.
That's true.
Yeah. So people would, if you see someone for how they actually see themselves and how they authentically are, even like me, I'm a bit of an asshole. I would rather see people I know I'm a bit of an asshole than, be like, oh no, he's very saintly. Give it 5 minutes. But yeah, that's one of those things with charm. It really is, it's kind of like we said at the start. You either have it or you don't. And you can kind of learn it. You can learn all these things and you can practice it and you can get better at it. But if you don't have the slight basis for it to begin, it's always going to come off a little weird, little off-putting.
Yeah.
Really. Like I said, the biggest one is there's a couple guys that we've known throughout the years, that, especially with the women, that they're always, complimenting their looks and things like that. But it's always physical. They're never like, man, that was a really good point you just made. Which apparently women like to be affirmed that they're not just physical objects. I suppose.
Yeah,
is that a thing,
yes.
Ladies? I'm just.
That is a thing. And
Huh.
they've actually done research and found that both men and women, on equal measure, would rather be smart than pretty.
Oh no, I would totally rather be good looking than smart.
Okay.
That's
Well,
I mean, and clearly
you're one
luckily,
of the aberrations.
right?
then.
Luckily, I have both, so I don't have to worry about it. No, you're right. What's the one that I've heard? The one that's I think this one's actually, would you rather be happy or fat? And everyone, off the top
Happy.
of most people's heads, everyone,
Happy.
everyone's always happy and fat or sad and good looking. And a lot of people like, oh, you'd think, oh, well, I'd want to be good looking, but no, like the majority of people pick happy. Like, fine, I'll just be fat, but at least I'm happy, right? I'm still happy. Yeah, I'm good.
And see, yeah, I think that I would be curious to see how that would react with most people. I think a lot of people would, if you put fat attached to it, would much rather be unhappy but not fat.
Well, yeah, and I've heard this. Then this has been years that I heard there was actually a study done on that, and it came out the majority of people said they would rather be happy and fat than good looking and miserable. But again, this was several years ago, and I can't. I'm terrible with that kind of thing. I'm curious if they did that today, if that would shift now, given the the mood of the Kardashians and the self.
I don't know. I think that we
self-interest.
definitely moved away from fat hate a little bit. I think.
Yeah, well, there is that too, but now I think it's more. I don't think it's so much about the hatred of being fat as the want to be good looking with like Instagram and things like that now.
Yeah. I just think that
more
people are
than
more aware that maybe fat isn't as bad as it used to be, but it certainly is still a thing amongst people in their 50s and 40s and 50s because it was drilled into us pretty young.
Mm-hmm. I'm watching that Marvelous Miss Maisel, and fantastic show, by the way, if you like comedy and stuff from that era. But one of the things she does, and apparently she's done for like 10 years, is every couple episodes she's measuring herself. Like she's got this logbook of her measurements at like the ankle, the calf, the thigh, the waist, the hips, the bust. But she did it daily.
Yeah, that's that's a little excessive.
Right. Like
I do mine about 3 times a year, but yeah, I definitely do it.
Yeah, me too, Jazz. Me too. I definitely am. I do that when I buy new pants. Does that count?
Yeah, well, you want to know what size to wear.
Right, I'll look in the back of the current pants I'm wearing as long as they're comfortable and be like, all right, I'm going to get these again. Wranglers, got it.
Yeah, see? Yeah, you suck, but okay.
Nothing wrong with a good pair of Stranglers.
That's right. No, I get the loose fit. I don't get the Strangler jeans. Those are I leave that for San Francisco.
Yeah, you don't want that.
I don't want my man bits showing off to the world. I'm neither a cowboy nor a vegan.
Fortunately, the George Strait Stranglers fit pretty good. They're pretty loose in the right spots. Just saying.
Oof. Yeah, I'll leave that to. No, I don't got any belt buckles that big, so I'm not. I'm not legally allowed to wear those kinds of jeans without at least. I think in the state of Texas, it's a 4x4 inch minimum size on the belt buckle.
Hey,
Here
man.
in Oklahoma, it's 3x3.
Hey, all I'm gonna say is Jazz and freaking Sibs got pictures of me dressed up to the nines.
And I Wacky Chodo. Thanks for listening, man.
Later.
He's got to go.
We're horribly off topic, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we are. But we're almost at the end, so that's why we're like
the end.
But so coming in at number K.
Number K.
Probably the best thing that's going to be charming is being yourself, which for better or worse is really all you've got. So in the end, you have to be you. And like I just said, you can learn all these things, but if you're a miserable asshole, you're always going to come off as a miserable asshole, unless of course you're a psychopath like our previous episode, or an amazing actor, or both. Then you can probably get away with it.
You can only fake it so long to the true personality shines.
Yeah, because eventually you're going to slip up,
and then the Khajiit is out of the bag.
Yes, and if you're a psychopath and you're faking it all the time, then you've got a lot bigger issues than trying to be charming. But like we said, a lot of psychopaths, they come off as very charming because they know how to read people, and they're not afraid to lie about it.
Yep.
And lastly, and probably the most important thing, be ready for rejection. Sometimes you can do all the right things, but that other person is just not going to be into it. No matter what you do or say, there's a personality conflict, whatever it might be. They're having a bad day. I don't know. Maybe they only got 8 out of
They only got 3 hours of sleep, and they're not smart enough to go to bed, so they're there to pick a fight with you.
This seems like something you're very vaguely familiar with. I was going to go with they only got 8 out of the 10 chicken nuggets that they ordered, which puts me in a pissy mood, and I hate everybody I meet after that. But it's just a personal flaw. I want my
serious
nugs.
business right there.
I want my nugs. But we can never get along with everyone. It's just not. It's not humanly possible in anything. Like there's always going to be someone that you're going to rub the wrong way, or there's going to be a personality conflict. And sometimes it may not even be that. It just might be, they're just not into it for whatever reason. They could have stuff in their past. The whole, like I said, especially with the women, if you're always, schmoozing them and telling them how beautiful they are, and your breath is like the wind off a landfill, and you have food particles wedged desperately between your teeth. For whatever reason, they may not care for that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Who knew?
Your eyes are black like burnt grease pans.
Them some shiny black eyes, just like my charcoal on the grill.
That's right.
So I line them up and they sparkle just so.
Oh my god.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's very bad. But it's just don't just got to be ready especially if you're gonna be playing and trying to play a charming character. Sometimes
your charming isn't everyone's charming.
Right, and honestly,
Exactly.
and sometimes it may actually be like OOC. The person might be completely like, man, that guy is really charming, but their character is written in such a way that no matter what anybody does, they're not getting through that character design. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't want to
too.
learn, or they're just making it that way.
Yeah, which is fine. There's always those characters. Maybe they have a chip on their shoulder, so no matter how charming you are, maybe in time you can break them down. It's
maybe not.
Shard from EverQuest 2.
Oh yeah, boy, did we try.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Xanis kind of did. After a long time, he broke through. They were friends by the end of it. Before they,
Vodka and Shard eventually became friends, but it took a long.
She had
time.
a lot of baggage, so it took a good long time to get through that. So if the character's written that way, and it doesn't matter what anybody comes at them with, they're going to be kind of like, nope. Then that's not on you, but you still have to be ready for then don't go be like out of character, like, why don't you like my character?
Oh,
why? Everybody's supposed to like him.
I wrote him that way. You're god modding that you don't like him. I had somebody tell me that I was god modding because my character didn't like his character.
Because they were god modding that everybody liked the character.
Yeah, that they were super charming and no one could resist them.
Oh, good lord.
Save
me now.
Let me dissuade you of a few false assumptions, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me help you with that.
Yeah. We like to live in what's called the real world.
Hell, I like to live in a fantasy world, but even in a fantasy world, you can't always win, no matter how your character is.
Still got that shit done.
I had that guy tell me he had a 20 charisma, therefore he couldn't be resisted by anyone.
What?
And he'd been supposedly role-playing for in ESO for over a year, and no one had ever resisted him before. They just went along with it.
Sure, they did.
And Ciol was just like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's a
By the way,
sociopath.
this isn't D&D. Your number of
yeah,
charisma doesn't.
It's not quite the same thing.
It means nothing to me. Nothing. So, all right. Well, hopefully that was helpful to people if you're ever trying to make a charming character and things like that. Insomniac, I hope that was kind of what you were looking for. If not, let me know. Feel free to. We would appreciate that greatly. So, anybody else have anything, final thoughts before we kick on out of here?
No.
I think we covered it, boss.
Yeah, I think we did.
All right. Well, remember to look up Sam Gosling, personality and psychiatrist. Like
Or
I
else.
did.
So.
Like I did.
Light reading right there.
Right. Oh, he's fascinating. I'm sure he is a delight. He actually wasn't a bad-looking fella, to be honest with you. I had to look him up. Got his number. Already have the restraining order. Did not
That didn't
take
take long, bro. Dang.
I thought I was being charming.
Well,
Turns out
So
restraining
bad.
order.
Mm,
Who knew?
Ouch.
ouch.
Right. So, all right, everybody. Listen, appreciate y'all tuning in. First episode of the new year. Thank you, everybody. Remember, 3 times out of the month, except for the last Saturday, twitch.tv/RPM Radio, 7 Central Time. You can listen to the podcast over at anywhere free podcasts are sold, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever Android, Spotify app you use. Podbean's our thing. Be sure to check out rpmradio.com. Kind of reformatted the website just a little bit for the new year. And a little information. Hopefully we can try and put our stories up there. I never know if anybody wants to read them, but we can probably put them up there to do that. Some of the ones you see are here, rather. You don't really see a podcast. Be a little weird. But, so feel free to do that. If you have any show ideas like Insomniac had for us tonight, please feel free to tell us in Discord, rpmradio.com/Discord. You can tell it to me personally. You can tell it to us in the chat. Anything you want to hear. We're always up for suggestions. It's always cool when we hit a topic people we know are actually interested in. It happens from time to time. So with that, tune in next time
Bye,
when
guys.
we go over
Right,
halflings
everybody.
and why they should be made into charms. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Have a good time, everybody, and see you next time. And until then, game on! The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMO Radio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.